Guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing a slightly different video with you. I'm going to kind of just be talking through this video about my moving out experience. And when Dan and I first moved in, which was a few months ago now, I did a video. I can't remember what the video was, but I did a video and I said in it that if any of you guys would like to have me do kind of my experience of moving out, and it might be able to provide you some like tips or something if you're going to be moving out soon, and if any of you have moved out and you've got any tips or anything, then it would be brilliant if you could leave it in the comments down below, because I just think that would really help anyone else who is about to move out, because the more advice that you can get, the better, and then obviously you're going to just pick and choose which one you think is going to be the most suitable for you. So yeah, it's probably going to be kind of a longish video. I'm just going to warn you on that one. If you're not into this sort of video, then obviously you don't have to watch it, but I'm hoping that I will be able to provide a bit of information that will be helpful to some of you if you're looking to move out, if you're moving out now or you're looking to move out in the future. So first of all, I'm going to kind of cover a little bit about why, like how Dan and I moved out and kind of our background. So Dan and I have been together for like 6.5 years nearly. We've been together for a really long time. We both went to uni, and because a lot of people say that's a really long time, how come you just moved in? We both went to uni, and that kind of takes a big chunk. Oh, what's going on with my necklace here? Kind of takes a real big chunk of your relationship out, because we just weren't going to move in together while we were at uni, and then we had different job issues, and Dan wanting to follow his sort of career path, and then we went to America, which a lot of you will know, and that cost us a hell of a lot of money because we were there for a month, and a lot of people said you could have used that as like pretty much near a deposit for moving in, and we could have, but we had a great life experience out of it, and it was one of the best things that we ever did. Because of all that, after America we got back, and we went to America in 2012, and it was just before Christmas and on 2012, and Dan said, I think we should start, we were at a meal and he said, I think we should start saving towards whatever it is, deposit moving out. So I said, I think that's a good idea. We knew that we wanted to move in sooner rather than later, so we knew we wouldn't get the deposit for a mortgage straight away. So from January 2013 we both started putting the same amount of money into a joint savings account. I will say, if you're with a partner and you're thinking about opening a joint savings account, just make sure you really know each other's spending, and that you have a really sort of kind of open relationship, like not open like that kind of open, but open with each other about what you spend and what you do, because if you're starting to share money, obviously that is the first kind of stage of that commitment, and you just want to make sure you have really got that kind of trust and honesty with each other on that, because I like to shop, but Dan knows that I wouldn't go into the account and use that for our shopping, for my shopping. So I just think that's really important. Anyway, so we started in January, and I would say it got maybe to around September, October time, and I was getting, I think it was around September, and I was getting really fed up because I started looking for places to rent, and I kind of had a set goal. I was okay if it was going to be a flat, didn't bother me. I wanted a 2-bedroom flat. If it was going to be on the ground floor, then I really would have liked a garden. I didn't want to be in the middle of like a block of like apartments or anything, so it's either going to be at the top or the bottom, but I wanted a bottom so that I could have a cat. So like I said, it needed to have 2 bedrooms. There had to be a window in the bathroom. I didn't want the kitchen integrated with the living room, mainly for noise and smells and things. If you're trying to watch a movie and you've got the washing machine going, it's really irritating. So I had quite a list of, actually, and it might have been slightly of an unrealistic list for the first time we were moving into with each other. Anyway, I started mainly looking before Dan did, and Dan is self-employed, or he's freelance, and it makes things quite hard if someone's quite newly freelanced. Basically, all the places that I looked at that I wanted us to move into, everyone said you needed to have 2 years worth of books, and Dan didn't. He had only just got 1 year, and everywhere was saying no, you had to have 2 years, or you could have a guarantor. If you don't know what a guarantor is, it's kind of like someone else signs on their behalf. They have a credit check on, they would have a credit check, and then they would be sort of listed as well, sort of on the property, and that they, so if there was any problems with paying anything, they were happy to take on the responsibility for making those payments. So often it's like it's generally a parent. But if you do that, they have to have a check, and estate agent fees started racking up higher and higher. So then it had to be like your deposit. You had to have like first month's rent and last month's rent. If you were using a guarantor, then they had to have a credit check. And something I will say to look into is every estate agent charges differently, and quite a lot differently for different situations. You can sort of search around and see which ones often do deals where they've got like 50% off the agency fees. So anyway, so all these fees were racking up. Luckily we'd been saving for a whole year, nearly a whole year, so we were okay with it. But I was kind of begrudging having to give them so much money. I wasn't happy about it, and neither was Dan. Another problem is because Dan is freelance, he works quite unusual hours and works often on Saturdays and doesn't get home until maybe like 7:30 or so in the evening. And estate agents aren't open then. So when you want to go and view a property, you can't. So it was mainly me who was going to view them. And it was causing a lot of problems for me, because I would go and I'd be like, well, I don't know, what if Dan doesn't like this? Isn't this might not be right? And they go like that, like they go like hotcakes. Like if it's a really nice rented property, you kind of have to make the decision there and then. And that's really hard when you're doing it for the first time as a couple. I think maybe next time round it's not so bad, because I'm hoping anyway, because you have lived together and you've started to talk about what you both feel you need in a place. So it became quite difficult, and we had a few little bickers, I suppose, a few arguments about it, and it was starting to upset me because I kind of felt like I was doing everything on my own, because he was having to work so much. In the end, luckily in our situation, Dan's parents owned a flat. So they owned it, and they sat us down, they had a chat with us, and they said, look, we know you've been looking and you've been struggling. Why don't you use the flat that we've got? And it was a 1-bedroom flat, top floor, no window in the bathroom, so also no pets. And I was like, it is way too small. You know, it's just going to be too small for us, and I'm not going to be able to deal with that. I'm also, in case any of you don't know, I'm an only child, so I'm quite well, I thought I was used to my own company, but you'll find out that I'm really not. So yeah, so that was a bit of, it was a nice offer, but at the time I was like, I just can't do that. I cannot live in that amount of space. So Dan and I, anyway, we came away. He sort of, in a way, kind of convinced me on it and said, look, it's cheaper than other places. We're not going to have to pay any estate agency fees. We're not going to have any deposit to have to pay. We've got our landlords that he said is like my parents, so they're not going to be, there's not the fear of kicking you out or that they want to sell it. It just makes things a lot easier. The other risk though is that if you don't have a really good relationship with your family, even if you have a good relationship with your family, I think it's still risky to do this sort of thing with a family member, and you just want to make sure it is the right thing to do. But what they've said is that if we sell it, the equity in the property, so if any of you don't know what equity is, it's when you buy a property for a certain price, and then when you go to sell it, that amount of money from the selling price, the buying price to what you've sold at, that's classed as like the equity chunk. Summarise really quickly. And there's equity in it, and they said when you come to sell it, you can have that as another chunk to go towards your deposits. They've been very, very generous in doing that, so we've been very lucky in that situation. So that's kind of how we ended up where we are, because we thought, look, I was just not finding a place, everyone was costing more, and they said it hasn't got to be forever, it could only be a year or 2 years, and it could be also that I'm going to appreciate when we get that second bedroom and a window in the bathroom, I would appreciate it so much more. But we've been super lucky to have this opportunity. Some of the tips I will say from that is, one of the best things that we ever did was save for about a good year. So from January 2013 we were saving, we didn't move in until May 2014. All that time that we saved meant that when we moved in, we also booked a holiday to Turkey, as you know, but it meant that buying sofas and units and different furniture The first food shop is super expensive, and it just takes a huge amount of pressure off because we moved in and there's so much stuff you've got to buy, as you've seen, as some of you might have seen my homo hauls. If you haven't, I will have both of them linked down below. There is so much stuff you have to buy that you don't want that added stress on top of it. So all that time in advance saving was brilliant, because we just go out and buy it, and I'd be like, yeah, we need these, we need mugs, we need this. And it also meant that we would buy some nice fun stuff as well. And it just really, really took that pressure off. So my biggest thing is, if you're with someone and you're desperate to move in, you might already have been going out 4, 5, 6 years like Dan and I had. In the long run, you know, hopefully you're going to be together forever. You know, that's the dream. What is another year? If you can save up that much more money and take that stress off, you're going to appreciate it so much more. And a year is nothing when you're going to be together forever. So I think that's one thing, is save in advance, but also don't save a stupid amount in the beginning that it makes you be really, really tight. Come up with something that both of you know you can handle. Your incomes are likely to be very, very different as well. So you want to have something that you're both happy with. It starts the chat about having money, because there will be money discussions once you move in, and if you've started those talks a bit before, it makes it that bit easier once you do move in to talk about that boring stuff that can cause arguments. But if you've already sort of got your mindset into it before you've moved in, and you've chatted to each other about what do you want to have Sky in there, or, you know, Virgin Satellite or anything. You know, you've got to think about your contents insurance. Do we want to have Netflix? Looking for your energy providers. And I think it's taking responsibility so you both have different things to look after.